Hi everybody, just here in the nursery tunnel, and I wanted to record a video to talk about some research I was doing around the Trinidad Scorpion and the Moruga Scorpion in particular. There's a separate video with me interviewing who I believe to be the creator of the Trinidad Moruga Scorpion. His name is Nigel Ruplal from Moruga in Trinidad. You can find a link to that video down in the description. And you'd also find a link in the description to the blog that I've written on our website, which has a bit more information and all the sort of referenced articles related to that bit of research I did into the Moruga Scorpion. So since I took over the Chilli farm, I'm Trinidadian, so I would be interested in Trinidad peppers, the Moruga Scorpion being one of them, the Trinidad Scorpion being another. So last year in November, I decided to go back to Moruga to make a pilgrimage and try and find who this person who created the Moruga Scorpion pepper is. You'd imagine that a pepper being that famous, world famous for being hottest in the world at one point, would have more information out there related to who actually created it, and there's very little information. So I was going back to Trinidad in November last year, and I decided to, make the pilgrimage. I've got family connections in the area, I have family who still farm there, and luckily for me, I had family who still know the person who created the Moruga Scorpion. So went back, made the pilgrimage, got taken into the village by one of the elders of the village, who kindly enough decided to give us some of his time and take us to who he believed to be the Moruga Scorpion pepper creator. And he took me to a guy called Nigel Ruplal. And Nigel sort of gave me the whole backstory around the pepper, and I recorded a very small part of our conversation. And according to Nigel, him and his brother intentionally set about to create the Moruga Scorpion. And it was a cross between a Trinidad 7-pot pepper and what we like to call a Congo pepper in Trinidad. And by that, it just means it's a hot habanero. It could be yellow, it could be orange. It's just a hot habanero. The whole story around why it's called Congo pepper is a whole other mystery by itself. But according to Nigel, him and his brother crossed the 7-pot pepper, which is a landrace variety, meaning that it's a traditional variety which has been grown for many generations in the area, very unique to that area as well, crossed those two peppers, and over successive breeding efforts, they created the Moruga Scorpion. Now, when you Google the Moruga Scorpion pepper and look to see who created it, there's literally only one Wikipedia article. There's lots of articles and references to it spread across the internet. I say lots, there's only a few. But in terms of actually documented information as to who created the Moruga Scorpion, there's virtually no mention of who created it. Now, there is one article in Wikipedia, and it talks about a man called Wahid Ogier. I believe that's how you pronounce it. And the Wikipedia article talks about how Mr. Wahid created the yellow cultivar of the Moruga Scorpion. Now, I'm stressing on the word yellow because that's what's mentioned in the article, and it says yellow cultivar, which, as you'd know, a cultivar would be another variety which has been created through intentional crossbreeding. Now, strangely enough, there's no pictures of the yellow cultivar associated with that article, and the only picture related to that article and reference next to it is the red Moruga Scorpion, which I believe is the original picture, which was taken and then published by Paul Bosland and the rest of the people at the New Mexico State University, who did the original testings back in I guess it was in the early 2000s when they started testing these peppers. And that picture is the picture of the red Moruga Scorpion, almost the archetypal red Moruga Scorpion, minus some tails. There's variations there that we're not going to dig into now. But importantly, when I started looking into it, Mr. Wahid is a farmer or at least he was, I don't know if he's still alive, he's a farmer in sort of the Chaguanas area of Trinidad, which is many miles away from Moruga. He doesn't farm in Moruga as far as I can tell, and I've spoken to the elders in the area who know all the farmers. There's nobody by that name farming in Moruga. So unless Wikipedia has a serious error in their article, there is no reference to his yellow cultivar, and anywhere else that the Moruga Scorpion is mentioned, Mr. Wahid is getting his name mentioned there as well, because I guess to other researchers there is no other bits of information there. But it's clear that he isn't or he can't really be the creator of the Moruga Scorpion because he doesn't even live in Moruga or grow or farm in Moruga. He grows in a completely different part of the country, and you'd see maps associated with this discussion in the blog that I've written. So when I went to Moruga and I met with Nigel and I asked him about um, this person by the name of Mr. Wahid Ogier, Nigel said he doesn't know anybody of that name. There is nobody in that area of Moruga where all these peppers emerged from by that name. So that's one controversy. And speaking to Nigel, he said him and his brother, Russell, who sadly is no longer with us, he died a few years ago, intentionally set about to create this Moruga Scorpion because they wanted a hotter and hotter pepper to be able to offer the street food vendors. And they, as I said, um, they crossbred this from the Trinidad Seven Pot and a Congo pepper, but they got virtually no recognition for this piece of work that they did, which has become world famous. There's no mention of Nigel's name anywhere online, and he said even in Trinidad, the Ministry of Agriculture never actually gave any recognition to this prominent piece of, well, crossbreeding that came about, which has now become world famous. And I asked Nigel, I said, well, was there any efforts to try and gain any popularity from this? Obviously, they're, farmers in the remote part of the country, they don't have access to a lot of PR or anything like that, or any, to sort of take their message forward. He said, so they received no credit at all. And I think that's quite sad, given that these farmers created this pepper on their own steam, and other people may have gotten credit for it. Now, spoke to Nigel and met his family and everything, and I'm quite happy to say I believe truly that Nigel and his brother were the ones to create the Moruga Scorpion. Now, to throw a bit of extra complication into this and more controversy, we take a step back from when the Moruga Scorpion, which was crowned hottest in the world in 2012, um, there there's a long history of conflicting information related to scorpions in general. So as part of my blog I was writing, I started researching and I came across an article. This article was written in um, the University of the West Indies magazine, and the author of the article talks about Trinidad Scorpions and scorpion peppers starting way back in the 90s. So according to her, there were researchers in the University of the West Indies testing pepper heat levels, so doing capsaicin analysis and testing hotter and hotter peppers across the island. And according to her, the researchers found some peppers that was handed into the university. They collected them from some farmers growing peppers in the northern range near Maracas, another part of the country, in the mid to late 90s. And these farmers weren't intentionally crossbreeding, but they came across hybrids that formed, and they were being spoken of as scorpion peppers in the 90s. It didn't just get popularity when the seeds left Trinidad and got to America, but the term scorpion pepper seemed to have started in Trinidad by these farmers. And it was all the way back then when these peppers were being tested with well in excess of 1 million Scoville heat units, all the way back then. But obviously those results weren't being picked up by Guinness Records, or maybe not even by Paul Boscalan and his team at the New Mexico State University. So who knows? So these peppers were being bred all the way back then. And I think it's quite likely that Nigel, in the years leading up to 2010 and 2011, sort of intentionally struck upon a scorpion pepper, which he then named the Moruga Scorpion, with him and his brother. They intentionally struck upon very similar genetics to other scorpions that may have emerged even earlier in the northern range part of the country near Maracas by the other farmers, because in terms of hot peppers in Trinidad, pre-scorpion emergence, everybody used and referred to seven-pot peppers. It's a landrace variety. It's used widely across the country. So it's very, very likely that two separate groups of people struck upon scorpion genetics, if you like. What we know of Trinidad Scorpions today um, struck upon these really hot peppers independently. Now that's all happening within Trinidad. Um, there's a whole other sort of controversy around the emergence of the Butch T Scorpion, which the Butch T Scorpion, it was named by Neil Smith of the Hippie Seed Company, and I think he got the seeds from a guy called Butch Taylor from somewhere other than Trinidad. And I'm not sort of throwing shade. I'm not making accusations to these people. I'm just talking about the controversy that exists. Now, according to another article I found, now the Butch T Scorpion was recorded, and it's got his Wikipedia page, and it was recorded at 1.463 million Scoville heat units, and it had the title in 2011. Now, the Wikipedia, this thing is really confusing. Now, Wikipedia has an article saying Butch T Scorpion had the world record in 2011, and then the Trinidad Moruga Scorpion got named hottest in the world in 2012. However, the Butch T Scorpion, when you look at when you read what's available online as to how did Neil Smith of the Hippie Seed Company got hold of these seeds, where the genetics came from, and all of that, I've seen some references of it even saying that the original genetics came from the Moruga Scorpion, which you're kind of going back on yourself. You couldn't have bred from the Moruga Scorpion until the Moruga Scorpion was actually emerged and released to the market, which was in 2012, I believe, around that time. So there's all these sort of controversies going on. And I even found an article which talks about Paul Bosland and his team measuring the Moruga Scorpion when they got hold of the seeds and they grew out their 125 odd plants and did their testings. They recorded the Moruga Scorpion at being over 2 million Scoville heat units, which is even hotter than anything referenced in Guinness Records. Now, in my research online, I've actually found that some mention was made that despite the Moruga Scorpion being tested at over 2 million, Guinness never actually updated their own records. Whether that be intentionally or through lack of needing verifiable third-party independent analysis to verify those testing claims, I don't know. But there's clearly a huge amount of controversy around Trinidad Scorpions and Trinidad Moruga Scorpions. And as to how did the scorpion pepper leave scorpion pepper in some guys, genetics of some kind, got out of Trinidad and into America to then be shipped around the world and created into the Butch T Scorpion, it's surprising that all of that's happened whilst peppers by the name of scorpion peppers were being tested in Trinidad by researchers way before any of that was happening in the 1990s, and were being called scorpions in themselves. So that controversy is there. And then throw in the mix the Moruga Scorpion. It's, who knows. So all I wanted to do was make that trip to Trinidad and shed some light on who I believe to be the actual creator of the Moruga Scorpion. And I believe Nigel and his brother were the ones to do that. When I was with Nigel, he showed me some other peppers. I can't show you pictures of those because he's holding on to them. He now knows how valuable they are, of some other hybrids that he's created. Other ones that have a mustard color, very similar to Pepper X and other super hot peppers of that sort of color palette, Warthog, Wartrix, all that sort of stuff. He's got peppers looking very similar to that. So it's clear that Nigel is breeding his own peppers back home, and hopefully one day he gets credit for those when they emerge. But as of now, I believe the pepper growing community should recognize Nigel as the Moruga Scorpion creator, and there should be more reference to it, to him and his efforts in creating this pepper. Just humble farmers in Trinidad. So that's it. I just wanted to record this and show some of the controversy around these peppers, and just talk about it a little bit more openly. Because if you don't do it, you're just left with a bunch of articles online and nobody really knows what's going on. So hope you like the video, and you can drop comments. You can let us know what you think. Thanks very much.